It's the first day of September 2022. Hello and welcome to Newsbeat on Metro Television with me, Ifwa Ando. We're coming to you live from the Akwa Hima studio here at North Ridge in Accra, coming up in the next 60 minutes. NAPCO trainees asked to vacate their posts and take advantage of the Youth Start program to set up their businesses as the program grinds to a halt after almost 4 years. More damning revelations emerged from the Auditor General's report. Meanwhile, the Chief Auditor is under intense pressure to crack the whip on defaulters. Plus, the Dubai-based airline Emirates suspends flights to Nigeria for 10 days due to its inability to repatriate money it was owed by the Nigerian authorities in the US dollars. Beneficiaries of the Nation Builders Corps program, NAPCO, has served notice to picket at the Jubilee House on September 6 to demand their 10-month salary arrears and permanent jobs government promised them. The group about a week ago petitioned the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, on the issue, but are yet to get a feedback. Meanwhile, the program has ended today, September 1, and beneficiaries have been asked to vacate posts and rather take advantage of the Youth Start program. Here are excerpts of the notice issued by the NAPCO Secretariat. We'll bring you details of that later very soon. But let's speak to Dennis Opoku Katichie now. He's with NAPCO trainees. Good afternoon to you, Dennis.
Good afternoon.
Now, you petitioned the Vice President about a week ago regarding your allowances. What feedback have you received?
Thank you very much. Let me extend my greetings to your cherished listeners and viewers on this big platform. Yes, you are right. We petitioned the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, on the 18th of September, where we were expecting him to be at the Independence Square for our petition. Unfortunately, we couldn't see the Vice President as anticipated. We saw the Deputy Chief of Staff, Mr. Emmanuel Bosman, who came and said he has been sent by the Vice President to come for the petition on his behalf because the Vice President is in a cabinet meeting and he wished he could have come himself, but he couldn't for such a reason. Of course, we gave the petition to the Deputy Chief of Staff on behalf of the Vice President, who assured us that as a listening government, he knows very well that we are going to get our positive answers within the shortest possible time, which of course we were not happy about the shortest possible time because it didn't have a definite period. Of course, we came and then we gave a 1-week ultimatum to the government, which ended on 26th of last month. We couldn't hear anything from the government. As we are all aware, the NAPCO scheme is coming to an end today. Yes. And of course, yesterday we had notification on our various portal indicating that the NAPCO scheme is now off. We are not supposed to be on the scheme. And the most unfortunate aspect of it is that the Secretariat did not give any timeline as to when they are going to pay our outstanding 10-month arrears, irrespective of the program coming to an end, which is very, very embarrassing and very, very unfortunate. The statement was the Secretariat is now going to start their validations and verifications. ending a program after a 10 months extension. We expect the Secretariat to have done these validations and verifications for a long time, or better still, to give at least a time limit, which we should expect our 10-month arrears. Now we are going home with 10-month arrears still outstanding, which is very, very unfortunate, and we are not happy about that. And now I am at Sunyane. We are almost at a meeting where we have the nation.
Yes, Dennis, I'm sorry to butt in, but let's take a look at your statement, and then I'll come back and speak with you. Now, the letter says, "Dear trainee, greetings from the NABCO Secretariat. Your time on the NABCO scheme has been valuable and impactful. As you exit with a wealth of experience, there is an added advantage to consider private enterprise as a career option. Your skills development program will aid your progress under the entrepreneurial You Start initiative to develop your ideas further into a viable business. More information will be made available from NABCO and stakeholders in due course. Equally, on any outstanding stipends, expect any valid payment and notification via the same means after validation and verification. District and your MP, once all the funding arrangements are concluded for all who remained at post beyond October 2021. We appreciate your time and growth while with us on the scheme, and would like to extend our best wishes to you on your future choices." Thank you, NABCO Secretariat. Right, Dennis, you're still with me?
Yes, I'm
yes,
still
you're making the point before we go ahead and I ask you the next question.
Yeah, exactly. And then due to what you just read, the payment aspect, where we were expecting the Secretariat to come out with a timeline, or at least to give a period of which we should expect our 10-month arrears, we couldn't see that. And as I said, we are at Sunyani, the leadership of NABCO trainees. We are almost at commencing our meeting, and we are going to discuss and deliberate on the notification that was sent to our various portals yesterday, indicating that the program has ended and the way forward, because we still believe that the government has not treated us at all good at all. And of course, we are not happy, as I have already stated, because we were expecting that if the scheme is no more, the 10 months that we've already worked for, we are supposed to be given the due months. And we are still coming out with our decision that we are going to still picket at the Jubilee House this time, and nobody should stop us at picketing at the Jubilee House, because after going to the Independence Square, we've never had any positive results. The government has never responded to our petition in the midst of the scheme coming to an end today.
That is, it's obvious that you're unhappy about all of this, but despite your plea to be placed permanently, government is asking you to take advantage of the You Start program and enroll instead. Are you and your members well positioned for that?
Yes, but whenever this question is asked, I remember my late mother, may her soul rest in peace. What do I mean by that? If, for instance, I'm able to buy my car, build my house, and then live comfortably, this is the very time I'm supposed to have make my mama or my mommy proud. And of course, my mommy is now underground. How could my mommy benefit from me, Katechi, my wealth? What do I mean by that? NABCO trainees, if we are dead by the time the You Start will come, who would be the beneficiaries of this You Start we are talking about? We need to eat to be sustained before we can get in touch with future blessings or whatever it is coming. So is the government saying that because of the benefit of the You Start, NABCO trainees are not supposed to eat for the past 10 months and still counting? This is very unfortunate. And of course, when are we launching the You Start? Again, with the process involved in the You Start, NABCO trainees who are even advising to take advantage of the You Start, we have no deep knowledge or idea about this You Start, which of course, these are all very unfortunate issues we were not expecting. So the You Start, as you said, we have NABCO trainees who are teachers, NABCO trainees who are, nurses. They've gone to the various teacher training colleges, nursing training colleges, they've been paid their due allowances, they have their license and their PIN that qualifies them to be permanently employed at the teaching field or at the at the health centers. Right. This government is saying that they should put away all their professional certificates and come for loan to do entrepreneurship, which is also another concern. We are not saying the You Start is not good. It's a good idea, Katechi, I support it. Right. But the government should make sure the right people are targeted. People with business-oriented ideas are those people who are supposed to be targeted, and not in general to cause financial loss to the states.
Right. Dennis Opoku Katechi is the president of the NABCO trainees. Association. Thank you very much indeed. We have labor expert Austin Gamey joining us via Zoom. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Gamey.
Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope you're well as well.
By His grace, yeah.
Now, was the NAPCO program really worth it?
Well, thank you very much. This is a very difficult time for this nation. You know, from the outset, the president launching this program made it clear that this program was going to be temporary. It was not going to be permanent. And I think all of us understood it and bought into it. I recall very well the way we all talk about it generally in Ghana here. Though we know that these things may not be entirely viable, it's something that was going to serve as a stopgap to guide our friends and colleagues who might have opportunity to be in that program. But like Dennis said, some of them are trained teachers, some of them are trained nurses and other professionals, albeit at the initial stages. So they could have been placed, as has always been the case. Because we don't have enough space in the public service, perhaps that's why they have to lodge all of them in the NAPCO program. So with time, some of them will find space in the public service. I think some of them might have found space in the public service as well.
Right.
But we all understood clearly from the word go that it was not going to be entirely a permanent job. It was going to be a transition. But the question of payment regularly is what should be of great concern to all of us, and I really empathize with them as well.
Now, Mr. Gamey, what more do you suggest government does to bridge this unemployment gap?
Honestly, generally speaking, we should not really be talking about unemployment in Ghana generally, because the character and nature of our economy is informal. Informal in the sense that we have just barely about maximum 20% public and private service that people are paid monthly, like you and I. The rest of us have found ourselves into the informal sector. You try to put up your own selves in one way or the other. Like the U-Start they are talking about, it's been in existence for ages.
Right.
Our parents were in that. Our brothers and sisters came and followed up. To date, we still have that U-Start already in place. But this is to be formalized in one way or the other. So I'm trying to say that everybody should learn a lesson from some of these things. And we should not, as a nation, waste our energy and our resources into creating something that will be very sound politically, but may not be of tremendous benefit to the nation as a whole. As it is now, these young brothers and sisters of ours who are confronted with this situation want to even picket. If they ask me, I'll tell them they shouldn't do it. They should find other ways and means of
I was going
pushing
to ask
their
you,
agenda.
yes, Mr. Gamey, I was going to ask you, what do you suggest they do now?
Well, to be honest with you, we are all in to help in one way or the other. Nobody is against anybody. If for instance, they formally talk to me or talk to somebody like me, the person can lead them and go and guide them. They can go to to TUC, they can go to anywhere, they can go to an individual and ask for support. So we drive this agenda properly and get their money paid to them. They can go to Labour Commission on their own to report the conduct of their employer, which is government. And the Labour Commission can assist them in getting their money. Because I do not want any single bullet to go into the body of anybody again in this country.
Right.
So it is important that they don't worry themselves if they have their parents alive. Their parents should tell them they shouldn't go. They should find ways and means of reporting this matter through a proper channel.
Right.
I don't mind leading them to a Labour Commission so we can tailor these matters through properly to avoid any sort of confrontation between them and police and or any group of people who may want to confront them. I really don't want it for them at all.
Right. Austin Gamey is a labor expert. Thank you. Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for North Tong constituency, Samuel Okudeto Ablakwa, has secured a job for 97 NAPCO beneficiaries. In a post he shared on Twitter, the MP said he has successfully negotiated with a Chinese company located in his constituency to employ all NAPCO beneficiaries. In some other stories, President Akufo-Addo has rebuked critics of the free senior high school policy. He says despite the backlash from some powerful forces against the policy, it remains a public good and its benefits are obvious. The president said instead of the downright disapproval, a national dialogue is needed to sharpen the rough edges and generally improve the quality of education in the country.
Leadership of the National Union of Ghana Students called on the President at the Jubilee House to address pertinent issues confronting the educational sector. Key amongst them is the need to review the school feeding grant and the non-payment of allowances to trainees at various nursing and teacher training colleges, and many more. Addressing their concerns, the President says the challenges are due to budgetary constraints, but called for a national conversation on the way forward.
Well, so many of the issues that you have brought forward, even though there are single items, all feed into the broader conversation of how much money is the society prepared to devote to education in all its various ramifications, whether it's talking about the feeding of children, whether it's talking about allowances for nurses and for teachers, we're talking about the level of monies that are devoted to scholarships, public scholarships. All of this should form part and parcel of that discussion. Already we spend considerable amounts of money on education in budgetary terms. I think you're aware of it. Higher than virtually all the countries on the continent. But nevertheless, as you can see from your own recital, it's still, if you like, inadequate. Already there are some who are eager to curtail some of these important initiatives like the free senior high school policy. There are powerful forces in the society that are against it and who are insisting that education should be what your parents can afford, and they should all contribute to paying for education. And the same at the tertiary level. But I have a different view. I think that it's a public good. The benefits of it for the nation, for the society are obvious.
He assures students that government is working to pay the allowances.
Government has paid attention to your quest, your interventions, and is doing something about it, whether it's about scholarships or the nurses' training allowances. I'm particularly disturbed by the fact that virtually all of this year they still haven't received their allowances, and something needs to be done about it. They are not matters that are just on the table being uncatered for, but we will be doing it. The school feeding program, you know, the amounts involved are also considered significant. I mean, to move from 1 CD to 2 CDs, for instance, the budgetary incidence is obvious. It's 100%. It's 100%, and yet I suspect that should be a more realistic figure.
The president also condemned the violent clashes that have rocked 2 major universities in the country and commended the NUG's leadership for taking steps to resolve the disagreements.
It's distressing to wake up or to hear that student activities which ought to be normally without violence end up in halls fighting each other and destroying properties. I'm not quite sure who benefits from that. I can't see that anybody benefits from that kind of behavior, and that the leadership of NUGS has made it a point to be able to focus on this and try and find a handle to bringing that type of behavior under control. I think is very commendable on your part.
Let's now speak to an educationist to tell us what he makes of this. William Boadu, CEO of Educate Africa Institute. He joins me for a conversation now. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Now, first of all, what is your assessment of the free senior high school policy?
Greetings to viewers. We at Educate Africa Institute, we are of the view that the government must hold on with the free SHS policy implementation. It means we want the government to cancel it immediately and rather improve the government scholarship scheme to cater for the needy. I think that will help.
You think that's the answer to the, the problem?
Come again.
You think that's the answer to the problem we're facing now?
My sister, delving into the policy and the challenges that is confronting the country, we could see that the government is not able to invest very well into the policy, and that is causing all these menaces going around. You see, the free education policy is good. Anybody who has the chance to enjoy education without paying anything, I think it is a fortunate thing. But the fact is that the government is struggling to invest or to fund the policy. So it is rather causing poor quality education in the country. And we are all much aware that we purposely go to school to acquire knowledge and skills. And after school, we create our own world with the knowledge and the skills that we have acquired.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
checking what is happening now.
I'm sorry but I was going to ask you that in my next question. I mean, you know, the calls for a review because it's been said that the policy has produced quantity instead of quality graduates. So do you subscribe to calls for the free senior high school to be reviewed?
Yeah, we need to review it, and we want to be straightforward. The government must cancel it and improve the scholarship scheme to cater for those needy, barbarian children. We are in the country and we know that a lot of people can fund their children's education. And the government currently is struggling to fund it. Education without quality investment, at the end of the day, it will create low literacy in the country and it will affect us in terms of human capital. So we need to see to it urgently. And I think at the end of the day, one day, the government will come out boldly and say that, oh, I've listened to your calls. A lot of people are calling that we should review the policy, but only few are suggesting straightforward that we should do ABC. But we are saying that we should rather improve the scholarship scheme so that it will help the needy but brilliant students.
And what should this national dialogue, in your opinion, entail? Should it happen?
Come again.
I'm asking, what should this national dialogue, in your opinion, entail, if it should happen?
Oh, yeah, you see, at first, first of all, the government should have conducted a nationwide consensus, and it didn't happen that way. So I think if the government should reason again and call for a national stakeholders meeting on this matter, it will help. And I think cancellation of the policy implementation will be the sole solution to this. And also, we should target our educational development holistically. We should stop categorizing this is ABC school. No, we should have a common target for our education system so that we develop all. In that issue, we are going to train people to take the mantle tomorrow. Because we are all much aware that definitely we are the future leaders, but if we are not getting the quality education and the skills, how are we able to continue what our leaders are doing now? So I think a national stakeholder meeting is very necessary at this particular point, and we should target the cancellation of the policy and improving the scholarship scheme. And with this, we should do it without nepotism and favoritism. Right. If we are improving the scholarship scheme and still using the nepotism and the favoritism, then I don't think they will not achieve anything. And Ghanaians will not also be fair.
William Bwedi is Chief Executive Officer of Educate Africa Institute. Thank you very much indeed. We'll be right back after this break. You're welcome back. Good to have you with us. The Auditor General has uncovered financial irregularities amounting to about 17.5 billion in the 2021 audit report of public boards and corporations and other statutory institutions. In the last 5 years, financial irregularities in public boards and corporations have hit over 50.8 billion cedis. The irregularities were mainly in the form of cash tax, payroll, debts and loans, stores and procurement, contract, rent and credit pass sales. Here are a few of the irregularities cited in the report. The presidency overspent its budget by 75 million cedis. The office of the president, according to the report, was allocated 82,970,658 cedis for expenditure on compensation for 2021. However, the office of the president expended over 158 million cedis. Over 66 million was lost by the state from irregularities committed in 2021 by the metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies. According to the report, the irregularities bordered on violation of laws, regulations and guidelines, and also management override of internal controls instituted to ensure effective and efficient utilization of resources. Ghana lost over 8 million cedis due to payroll irregularities related to public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions. According to the report, the lapses were caused by the failure of management to exercise due diligence and the tolerance of officers in charge of payroll validation in reviewing payment vouchers to ensure salaries were paid only those who were entitled, as well as payroll-related irregularities. Cites 19 past and current judges of Ghana's Superior Courts for acquiring state vehicles, a move that contravenes Regulation 158 of the Public Financial Management Regulations 2019 LI 2378. Judges cited in the report include Yao Appel, Ike Mensah, and Julius Ansa. On procurement, the audit uncovered irregularities amounting to 307 million cedis, which occurred mainly due to management's non-compliance with the provisions of the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 663. 219.3 million out of the total irregularities represented items procured without recourse to the Public Procurement Authority by the Electricity Company of Ghana. To talk more about this is co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senanu. Good afternoon to you, Edem.
Afternoon.
Now, let's get your initial reaction and what you think is the way forward.
Well, first of all, to state that this is a depressing report because it doesn't show that we have learned from the past. The way forward, we certainly need to look at enforcement and sanctioning. Enforcement of our existing laws and policies, and sanctions, targeted sanctions at public officers who are not doing their job, whether it is an issue of a lack of compliance with the law or a lack of due diligence in cross-checking documentation, whichever form of irregularity, we need to be targeted at naming and shaming these persons, not just retrieving or cautioning them. The more we sanction, we penalize them, the likelihood that people will continue to
Mr. Senanu, when you say sanctions, what exactly do you want done to them?
You see, if you take, for example, recently we've been talking about the La Bianca case and what is supposed to happen if you paid less than you are supposed to pay in terms of taxes. And the law actually says that you should be penalized by 300%. So if we find that you had deprived the state of monies, not only do we retrieve the money, but we penalize you to pay in additions, like an interest on the capital, 300%. We need to start having stiff penalties for persons who don't do their job. Because you see, first of all, we are paying them out of the public purse to do these jobs. In their job descriptions, the specific tasks will include, check this kind of document or ensure that these processes are followed before you approve ABC. Now, if you don't do that, and all that we do is to say, okay, you pay back the money, we'll pat your back, we really are not bringing any change. So when I talk about sanctions, I'm saying the kind of sanctions that are punitive enough to make people think twice about not doing their job properly.
And do you think this will ever stop, Mr. Sinanu?
It will. I mean, I like to point out that when we read Western history, you find that most of the countries we so admire today, they have about 300 to 400 years of development, moving on in civilization. We've done 65 years. We probably can leapfrog if we're learning faster, and we ought to. So we need to take a very decisive, look at what hasn't worked in the past, and some aspects of our framework, especially the enforcement. It looks like we have a culture where we are afraid or unwilling to punish those who must be punished, which is what you find in the jurisdictions where they are making progress and corruption is minimized. So we should understand what our weaknesses are. And if we need to identify Ghanaians who are stronger at that or nurture them and put them in positions where they are poor enough to deal with this matter, we need to be very strategic in getting that done. And enforcement is important. Sanctions and enforcement get us much more progress than we've seen in the past.
Mr. Sinanu, we'll definitely call you and talk more about this. Co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Adam Sinanu, there. Member of Parliament's Health Committee, Dr. Sandari Sebastian, has expressed worry over government's inability to employ over 1,000 new doctors who finished their housemanship almost a year ago but have since remained home. Dr. Sandari says the doctors may be forced to leave the shores of Ghana in search of greener pastures elsewhere if nothing urgent is done.
Many hospitals in this country don't have doctors. I can talk about my district, where there's just one doctor taking care of more than 40,000 people. One doctor. So nobody can convince me that we have enough doctors, that we don't need them, and that we cannot employ. So government should do something, should take immediate steps to ensure that our young doctors who are sitting at home get immediate employment, because they cannot sit at home with vital skills that are needed to save the lives of vulnerable people in this country. Doctors are leaving Ghana for, better life somewhere, especially to the Europe and other places. Nurses who are also not employed are also leaving. So a young country like Ghana, a developing country, we have our highly skilled personnel, doctors and nurses, leaving this country. So what can we boast of as a country? That what we need to save our lives, the personnel that we need to save our lives, are leaving in numbers. So it's not just fear, it's a reality that we all know that our doctors and nurses are leaving this country. And I always say that, look, our people in this country, they don't need much from us, the politicians. What they need is that we take good care of them. What they need is that they should be guaranteed of quality health care, that a patient gets to the hospital and you receive the best of health.
Staying on health, Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, says even though there are unique challenges bedeviling the construction of the large general hospital, government assurance of rebuilding the facility is not a scam. He spoke on Metro TV's Good Morning Ghana.
Be a jack of all trades, because we are part of this family or this government. When we identify challenges, we try and advise. I believe strongly that there are unique challenges with the project in terms of the progress, but it is not a scam. I think we have to get it clear. I was in Parliament, so I can say on authority that we in Parliament, the 7th Parliament, approved this facility. And I am not a financial guru, but I've been told that you can approve a loan, but if some of the conditions you have to fulfill or the management process, sometimes you have to place some money in an account which is supposed to be an insurance. Sometimes you have to do things. All this information ought to come out from the ministry. And I believe that when it comes to communicating to Ghanaians, it has not been sufficient. And you see, because I was an MP along the coast, Doc, we with this La General. Our what's the word? Political opponents, Doc, they really have fared well on this project. And I don't blame them. There are a lot of folks who actually voted in the...
Ghana is one of Africa's most stable democracies and touted as a beacon of multi-party politics in Africa. In order to protect her gains, Professor Michael Quay, a former Speaker of Parliament, has called on politicians to keep the country at heart and emulate the life of forebears like Bafo Osei Akoto.
It is of perpetual significance to us because we had a 1960 constitution under Nkrumah. After that, we had the 1969 constitution, then the 1979 constitution, and the 1992 constitution. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, every constitution after 1969, from 1969 onwards, had deliberately and copiously elaborated fundamental human rights as part and parcel of Ghanaians. Because, like those progenitors, Bafo and others said, Unipa Inye Abua. So today, when you invoke the right that even when you are kept into prison, you cannot be kept in a inhuman situation, you are invoking that which those people fought for. Because it was not in the 1960 constitution. Today, actually, it amuses me sometimes when I hear pro-Nkrumahs speak with one tongue that Nkrumah was really the Messiah, and at the same time will say that you cannot detain anybody beyond 48 hours. They don't want anybody to be detained beyond 48 hours. Where did that come from? It came from the experiences of people like Bafo, who suffered for nothing, and for which we put in our constitutions that never again.
Up next is business with Winston Taki.
Thank you, Ifwa. Now time for business here on Newsbeat. And now to our first business story. The central bank last month increased the policy rate to 22%, which was targeted at controlling the rate of rising inflation. In an interview with the president of the Ghana Association of Bankers, John Ewa, such a measure will help reduce the pressure on returns on investment in the domestic market.
Depreciation hits the country. Of course, what causes depreciation? Sustained rise in the general price levels. Almost loans becomes unaffordable because interest rates must move in line with the depreciation, and of course, when they become unaffordable, people's ability to borrow is hampered. People's disposable income goes down because for the same amount of money that they earn January, that's what they are earning in August, but it's able to acquire fewer and fewer goods. So heightened inflation is not something that you wish for your country, and therefore any kind of policy direction that seemed to tackle it head on, like we saw with the measures announced by the central bank during their emergency MPC, we should begin seeing maybe inflation tapering or maybe gradually coming down to the levels that we have been accustomed to. We have growth to worry about, and we have stability to also worry about. I think the central bank's focus, using the monetary policy tools available to them, was to stabilize first, focus and stabilize the country or the economy before perhaps extending the stability onto growth. So the policy measure is basically was geared towards making CD assets attractive. so that those who have excess liquidity in the system and therefore may be speculating on the currency who channel those flows to CD assets, maybe by government.
Still in business, Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana, Professor Godfrey Bumpkin, has said that $750 million Afrexim Bank loan will only provide short-term relief to the economy. He has called on government to concentrate more on an efficient way of managing the economy rather than over-dependence on these loans.
As of Monday, August 29, 2022, the government had received a total amount of $750 million from Afrexim Bank. This is intended to shore up the Bank of Ghana's reserves and also be used for infrastructural projects. Economist Professor Godfrey Bumpkin said government requires fiscal discipline since this loan will bring short-term relief to the economy.
The reality is that this is an economy worth more than $50 billion. What is $750 million in that economy? Okay, so but that tells you how desperate we are. We are celebrating the arrival of $750 million as though it provides a more sustainable solution to the problem. That is how desperate the country is. But the reality is that whatever stability that will come from the 700 is going to be very, very short term. Because if you look at the external debt servicing obligation of the government by the end of this year, it's more than $2.7 billion. And that is why anytime dollars come, you will find that there are competing interests. And you have to satisfy where the pressure is high and all of that. So this is not enough. In fact, if you add that to the syndicated cocoa loan and the rest of them, it does not close the dollar deficits.
However, in August 29 Facebook post by the Deputy Finance Minister John Kuma, $37 million of the amount has been set aside for debt servicing obligations. Professor Bumpkin has been speaking on this.
I think that to say it's in the right direction, right now we are in a fix. Is that okay? So if some of these debt servicing have to be done in a foreign currency, okay, and now you have received a foreign currency, you want to be able to manage many of these things. So part of the loans that we borrow for infrastructure, when they come, they hit Bank of Ghana's account, and then the CD equivalent will be used in the infrastructure that they want to do in the local economy and all of that. But we have also had instances where we have gone for loans and we actually didn't use them for the purposes for which they were procured per document that went to Parliament.
He spoke to Metro News on the sidelines of the Natural Resources and Governance Institute program in Accra, organized on the theme, Review and Compliance of the Public Financial Laws in Ghana, Digging Ghana from the Trenches.
That'll be all for business here on Newsbeat. My name is Winston Taki. Sports is next after this break.
It's 46 past midday in the Ghanaian capital of Accra. My name is Phil John Quarter and it's time for sports. The National Insurance Scheme has signed a partnership agreement with 4 newly promoted teams of the Ghana Premier League. They include Samatex and Kotoku Royals at a simple ceremony. The Chief Executive Officer of the insurance scheme here in Ghana, Dr. Koboy, announced that it's important that the players' health is vital to the development of football here in Ghana.
What is unique about this partnership is that it's not those partnerships where a check is signed, 1 million Ghana cedis, go and use it for football. What we are doing is to allocate funds to register every footballer that is part of these teams on the health insurance, all their family members on the health insurance, all the technical team on the health insurance, 5,000 minimum of their supporters on the health insurance. And guess what? With 200,000 Ghana cedis, we can register over 20,000 people who are connected to each of these teams. So, if we spend a maximum of 1 million cedis in the next 12 months through this partnership, we are going to have at least 80,000 people covered, connected to these teams. For each of the 80,000, you can multiply by $2. You're talking about $160,000 plus. Whatever we invest to drive up the numbers, we are going to get the investment back at National Health Insurance Scheme. This is one of those partnerships that will support teams to have almost all their people covered. We hear of team members
driving to another place to go and play soccer. We are praying it never happens. There is a road traffic accident, and their managers and presidents pay from their pocket for each person that have to go to the hospital. This time, they can go to sleep on all these matters. And in addition, an extra package we are giving them. We have liaised with consultants at Kolebu. If any of their players, health insurance covers fractures, which is breaking your bone. But if there is any condition which is beyond the teams, we are willing to bring to their aid consultants at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and other hospitals, including St. Joseph's Hospital in Kufuria. Health insurance will support them to have access to consultants so that we don't have to fly players out anytime they have issues. We are going to have our stamps in registering them anytime they have, especially home matches. Our district offices at, let's say, Kotoku, Akimoda, will have a stand outside the stadium. The supporters, with their permission, they will tell us who should be covered. We are targeting registering all of them on health insurance. This can even serve as an incentive for people to come and watch their games.
But just before we go away, join us at 17 hours GMT. Remember, today is transfer deadline in Europe, and at 17 hours GMT, myself and the guys will sit down to analyze the deadline issue right here on Metro TV.
My name is Anaya Tanobwache. Now, founder of Guba Kente, Gloria Baba Ankara on Metro TV Entertainment Review program expressed how Ghanaians did not understand ways to style Kente apart from using them on important occasions. But through modernization, fashion designers are able to get people to wear Kente on a regular day.
Initially, there was a limitation on what Kente could be used for.
Okay.
So we reserved it for, oh, she's getting married, she needs to wear Kente. But there's an evolution all right now.
Yeah.
We are using Kente for different things.
Yes.
Who thought you could wear Kente on a Wednesday? I'm here.
On a Wednesday, yes.
On a Wednesday, I'm here. This passes for work outfit. I live here, I'll go for dinner, I can be in it. So I don't think it's just the fashion. We didn't know what else could be done out of it. But now the designers are here, like Daphne herself, other people are killing it. You see something, a cloth, you ask them, is this really Kente? They don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
So there's room for innovation. And
So though traditional Kente and modernized Kente with trimmers take the same weaving time, making Kente patterns take a longer duration. According to Gloria Baba Ankara, special Kente made for high dignities can take at least 6 months to complete.
this is actually a bit more difficult because the silk threads, as the name sounds, they're a bit slippery. So weaving it is difficult. In fact, a lot of weavers shy away from it. Yes, but then it takes the same duration and work. The one that makes it very difficult is the patterns.
Okay.
So you can actually use like 6 months to complete a particular pattern of Kente.
6 months?
Yeah, 6 months. The ones they do for Otun, for high dignity, it takes that long.
Okay.
And yes, it takes that long.
Because those ones are wide.
Yes.
They are long.
And the pattern, some are so intricate. You need time to be able to just get one strip. You can take like 24 hours to complete it.
Oh, wow.
Sitting in the loom, go crowing like that. It would take that much time to finish.
That's all on entertainment news. Ifwa, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nanaya. Up next is international news.
Chief Warrant Officer Alizeta Kabori Kaina of Burkina Faso is the recipient of the 2022 United Nations Woman Police Officer of the Year Award. A ceremony has been held in New York, during which Officer Kaina received her award from UN Peacekeeping Chief Jean-Pierre. The Dubai-based airline Emirates will not be flying to and from Nigeria for the next 10 days. Its inability to repatriate money it was owed by the Nigerian authority in US dollars is behind the suspension. The last Emirates flight left Lagos at 8 p.m. local time on Wednesday. The chief of Russia's liquor oil giant, Ravil Makhanoj, has died after falling from a hospital window in Moscow. Makhanoj, 67, was being treated at the city's Central Clinical Hospital and died from his injuries. He is the latest of a number of high-profile business executives to die in mysterious circumstances. The wife of ex-Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak has been sentenced to 10 years in prison on each of the 3 bribery charges. Rusma Mansell was found guilty on 3 charges of soliciting and receiving bribes to help a company win a $1.25 billion project, approximately $279 million.
That's how we end the news here on Metro Television. My name is Ifwa Ando. Have a good afternoon.